Welcome back to 90 Plus 1, where today we focus on the club that I support, Manchester City. Because if we don't, Tristan here isn't going to ask nicely any more times. Alright mate, fight me. 1. City were formed as St Mark's West Gorton in 1880. 2. In the 1880s, unemployment plagued Manchester. St Mark's Church created a cricket team to combat the resulting alcoholism and gang violence. That team eventually broke away into football and they chose Ardwick FC as their name. 3. The 1894 of the current City badge refers to the date when the club officially changed its name from Ardwick to Manchester City. 4. Their first kit looked a bit more like this, before becoming the sky blue we all know and love today. 5. The badge is a modernised version of previous badges, but the last badge included 3 stars above it, which until I was 10 years old, I always thought that meant we had won something special. Nope, they were purely decorative. Classic City. 6. City are the 8th most successful team in England, behind Everton, Aston Villa, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester United. 7. City won their first major trophy in 1903-04. That's 4 years before Manchester United won a trophy, 26 years before Arsenal won a trophy, and 51 years before Chelsea won a trophy. 8. City have completed some sort of double twice, winning the League Cup and UEFA Cup Winners' Cup in 1969-70 and the Premier League and League Cup in 2013-14. I mean, they're not the most impressive doubles, but they'll do for now. Take your shanter elsewhere. 9. City's favourite accolade is getting promoted and also being relegated. They've been promoted 12 times and relegated 11. 10. In 1998-99, they had dropped into the 3rd tier of English football. They finished 3rd and ended up in the playoff final against Tony Pulis' Gillingham. In typical City fashion, we did things the hard way and were 2-0 down with 4 minutes left. Horlock got one back before the legendary Paul Dickoff scored in the 95th minute to send it to extra time and penalties. My childhood hero, Nicky Weaver, had a worldie goal and sent Manchester City to Division 1. 11. People who make jokes like Empty Head just don't understand City's history. In the 3rd tier of English football, City's attendances actually went up from the years before. 12. Manchester City have the highest number of supporters who have been going to City games regularly for 25 years, more than any other Premier League club. 13. City's only nicknames are the Citizens, and obviously, Man Shitty. Ha! What a great pun. What great intelligence and wit you must have, Keith, 43 from Bolton. 14. The team's first recorded match occurred in 1880, against the Church team from Macclesfield. 15. In 1937-38, they became the only club to be relegated with a positive goal difference. 16. City scored over 100 goals in 1957-58, only to concede 100 goals in the same season. 17. They're the only team to be relegated this season after winning the league. 18. The fan favourite red and black City away kit was copied from AC Milan in the 1960s to inspire City into success. I mean, it sort of worked, I guess. No. 19. In cup finals, City would replace their badge with the Manchester coat of arms. Nowadays, they walk out to cup finals with it on their pre-match jacket. 20. The record appearance maker is Alan Oakes, with 680 appearances. Only 4 were from the bench. 21. The man with the most goals for the club is Aguero, with 180. 22. Dennis Law scored 6 against Luton Town, the most a City player has scored in one game. However, the game was abandoned on 69 minutes due to a waterlogged pitch, and City lost a replayed fixture 3-1. 23. Their record league victory was 10-0 against Darwin in 1899. Who the Darwin? No one knows. But I found that somewhere. 24. Their record FA Cup victory was 12-0 against Liverpool Stanley. 25. Their biggest loss was surprisingly not this, but actually 4 8-0 defeats. 26. Manchester City had the biggest home attendance ever with 84,569 turning out to watch them play Stoke. However, if we count Tottenham's temporary home, Spurs have the record beaten by just under 1,000. But are we going to count that? The we are. 27. In World War II, Old Trafford was bombed by the Germans, so City let United play their home games at their ground, Main Road. In 1995, City released a tongue-in-cheek shirt about German forward Uwe Rosler's granddad bombing Old Trafford. That is edgy as 28. Another City German favourite was Bert Trautmann. Trautmann was a World War II POW and after playing non-league football, joined Manchester City. Fans obviously had to be won over by the German, but his performances did just that, and he even broke his neck in an FA Cup final but continued playing. 29. The most goals scored by a City player in one season is 38 by Tommy Johnson in 1928-29. 30. The record transfer fee paid by City is currently $54 million for Kevin De Bruyne, probably one of the few players to have justified that astronomical fee. 31. The record transfer fee received was $25 million for Kelechi Iheanacho, who is currently being completely wasted by Leicester. Come home, Kelechi. You'd play even less here, but I love you. I miss you so much. 32. When City splashed $32.5 million on Now Who Shall Not Be Named, it was a British record. He was once so bad against Everton, Mancini subbed him off in the 51st minute after he had only subbed him on in the 9th. 33. That's the second time City have held the British transfer record, with them paying $1,450,000 for Wolverhampton's Steve Daly. 34. Kyle Walker's $50 million move from Tottenham made him the most expensive English player ever. 35. City attempted to lure Kaká away from AC Milan in 2009 with a $100 million bid and $50,000 a week. Kaká turned down the offer and they signed Craig Bellamy instead. You know what, Craig Bellamy was quality for us and Kaká ended up being dog shit, so I'm okay with this one, god botherer. 36. City have played arch rivals Manchester United the most times. 37. The Citizens have beaten Aston Villa the most times. 38. But their worst record is against those bloody Scousers. I honestly don't know who I hate more out of Liverpool and Everton. They both beat us all the time. 39. The oldest player to play in the Premier League was Manchester City's John Burridge. 40. The youngest ever player for City was Glyn Pardoe. 41. Their oldest player ever was Billy Meredith, who played at just under 50 years old. 42. City recently beat Huddersfield 2-1, but in 1987, City beat them 10-1 with 3 players scoring hat-tricks. Where were we when we were beating you when we were mate? 43. Les McDowell is City's longest-serving manager, lasting 13 years. 44. Steve Coppell's reign as manager was the shortest, lasting just 33 days in 1996. 45. Joe Mercer is City's most successful manager with 4 trophies. 46. Stuart Pearce's Manchester City hold the record for fewest goals scored at home in a Premier League season, scoring just 10 goals at home in 2006-07. 47. In 2005, City needed a win against Borough to send them to the UEFA Cup. Stuart Pearce subbed off Claudio Reyna, pushed David James up front, and subbed on goalkeeper Nicky Weaver. David James did nothing but terribly foul people, but City did win a penalty. Robbie Fowler missed it. 48. Stuart Pearce said of the decision, "I sat at home Saturday night and thought to myself, what shall I do if we're drawing the game late on and need to hit it long? I've got a good striker in John Macken, but I wanted to unsettle them, and in some ways it did. It unsettled everyone, them and us." You can tell he had pre-planned it because David James already had an outfield shirt with his name and number on the back. 49. Manchester City's 2011 Aguero title masterclass was the smallest winning margin in Premier League history. City won the title with an 8-goal better record than their noisy neighbours. 50. They've only gotten further than the round of 16 on one occasion, the furthest they've ever reached in Europe. 51. City's biggest Champions League home win was 4-0 versus some German team in the 2016-17 group stages. 52. Their biggest European away win was in 2017 at Feyenoord. 53. Their heaviest home defeat in the Champions League was to Pep Guardiola's Bayern Munich, losing 3-1 in 2013. 54. The heaviest away defeat was Pep Guardiola's City, losing to his old side Barcelona 4-0. Cheers for that, bravo. 55. Ireland and Scotland are the best represented foreign nationalities to have played for City. 56. However, French players have made the most foreign appearances for City. 57. Argentinians have unsurprisingly scored the most foreign goals for the club. 58. Colleen Rooney's husband is City's most feared player with 12 goals in 30 appearances against them. 59. However, 3 players have a perfect personal record against City: Eric Cantona, Messi and Mickey Quinn. 60. Mike Dean is both City's enemy and ally. City have won 11 penalties and had 9 players sent off against them with Mike Dean refereeing. However, the Baldy has also awarded 9 penalties to opposition teams, as well as handing out 10 red cards. 61. The youngest starting 11 City have fielded was in 2008 against Aston Villa, with an average age of just 23. They lost 4-2. Gabby Agbonlahor scored a hat-trick. Gabby Agbonlahor. 62. The oldest starting 11 was surprisingly fielded by Guardiola, with an average age of 30.4 years old. 63. Aguero may have scored the most penalties for City, but he's missed 9. Yaya Toure, Anelka, Elano, Balotelli and Keith Curle never missed a penalty for City. 64. In their last 5 penalty shootouts, City have only lost 1. 65. Their biggest Premier League win was 7-0 against Norwich in 13-14. 66. City legend Richard Dunn has been voted Club Player of the Year the most times, but he also has the most own goals for City with 6. He has 10 Premier League own goals overall. 67. Their biggest Premier League loss was 8-1 to Middlesbrough. 4 months later and Sheikh Mansour bought the club, so that clearly didn't put him off. 68. Sheikh Mansour and his family wealth of $1 trillion
$100 billion.
bought the club for $210 million. His ownership was preceded by deposed Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, who bought the club in 2007. He is currently in exile in Dubai and would probably be arrested if he went back to Thailand. 69. City have been troubled by mismanagement for a lot of their history. Ex-chairman Peter Swales sacked 11 managers in 21 years. He was ousted in 1994 and left the club with crippling debt. 70. But everything is rosy now with Sheikh Mansour's billions, and Manchester City are now the 5th richest club in Europe. Sheikh Mansour has funded much of East Manchester's recent regeneration, as well as winning on the pitch too. 71. Clearly one club isn't enough for him, as Manchester City are one of 6 clubs that are within the City Football Group. The group spawned with the creation of New York City before buying Melbourne City, Yokohama F. Marinos, Club Atletico Torquay and Girona. 72. His beautiful dirty oil money provided the stability and transfer funds to help City win the FA Cup in 2011, their first trophy in 35 years. United then took down their banner, counting the years since City had won a trophy. An estimated 100,000 fans attended the open-top bus parade. 73. From 1992 to 2008, City had a net spend of €273 million.
Talk about net spend. Don't talk about spend. Talk about net spend.
Since the takeover, they have spent over $1 billion. They've spent more on defenders than some countries have spent on their defence budget, and it's great because John Stones is quality and Mendy is good crack on Twitter. 74. Manchester City currently have 43 points from 15 matches this season, the highest by a club at this stage in Premier League history. 75. Pep City are also currently setting the English record for successive wins in all competitions, with 20. 76. They're doing the same with away wins in all competitions, with 11 so far. 77. When they beat Huddersfield 2-1 in 2017, it was the first time since the 17th of April 1995 that they had won a Premier League away game after trailing at half-time. They repeated the feat against West Ham a week later. 78. In 2013-14, City achieved the most points without topping their Champions League group. Bayern matched that record this year. 79. Guardiola has spent over $411 million on 17 players since his arrival at Manchester City. 80. Guardiola almost played for City after having a trial with them at the end of his career, but Stuart Pearce wasn't convinced. 81. Man City became the first Premier League club to reach 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
What do you want me to do with that?
82. Sometimes at City games you might see a fair few inflatable bananas. It harks back to the 80s when City fans were calling for striker Imre Varadi to play, and just sort of merged it into Imre Banana instead. No idea why, doesn't even rhyme, but it's great fun. 83. The Poznan craze of turning your back and jumping up and down started in 2010, after Lech Poznan fans did it on a visit to the Etihad. City fans adopted the odd celebration, and although now it's very rare, opposition clubs often attempt a version when they score against City. 84. Brazilian one-cap wonder Glauber Berti joined City in the summer of 2008. He became a cult hero at City after being named on the bench 20 times without playing a single minute. He came on to play 6 minutes in the last game of the season, received a standing ovation when he took a throw-in, and was voted man of the match by City fans. He left that summer. 85. The number 23 was retired in memory of City midfielder Marc-Vivien Foé, who died on the pitch whilst playing for Cameroon. 86. In 2012, Porto threatened to complain to UEFA because City fans chanted, "You're not incredible," to Hulk. Hell Porto, that is the softest thing I have ever heard. 87. In 2000, Jimmy Grimble was released, a film about a boy who essentially has magic boots and dreams of playing for Manchester City.
What can be better than Man United, son?
Man City.
88. Manchester City have recently confirmed a $10 million deal with Amazon to produce a fly-on-the-wall documentary about City's 2017-18 season. 89. Famous City fans include the Gallagher brothers, Freddie Flintoff, Ricky Hatton, Arsenal's chief executive Ivan Gazidis, that might explain all the players he loves to sell to us, Marco Pierre-White, and Michelle Keegan. Oh god. 90. City actually rent the Etihad Stadium, which was built for the 2002 Commonwealth Games. They have a 250-year-long lease at $3 million a year. Bargain. 91. Before that dollar bill, y'all, turned up, City used to proudly feed off the scraps of other clubs. Players you might not know play for City include Peter Schmeichel, Robbie Fowler, George Weah, David Seaman, Nicholas Anelka, Daniel Sturridge, Steve McManaman, Didi Hamann, Maicon, Jerome Boateng, and Patrick Vieira. And that is it. I could go on about City forever. Our history isn't laden with trophies, but it's littered with tragic moments which make them City, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I've been a biased. Until next week, have a mad one.